Audio test. Murder and robbery. You will hear an audio script concerning a mission-related topic. This script will be followed by a conversation between two persons. This conversation will relate to the script. You will hear the tape only once. You will make notes of the script and of the conversation, and from these notes you will have been instructed either to answer 10 questions or complete a written report of the incident. Good luck. On 17th October 2006, at 1825 hours, a local Timorese was gunned down inside a local shop in Hera area, Delhi district, at grid reference 453-765. The victim was later identified as Alfredo Domingo, owner of the Timor Garments and Handicraft Trading House. He was going with his family in his personal Tata truck, registration number 117 Tango Lima 329, to his ancestral home located 16 kilometers northeast of Delhi. Alfredo Domingo and two of his family members took a stop in Hera community and entered a shop to have a cup of coffee and cigarettes. They stopped for about half an hour. While they were having coffee, a gang of miscreants aged between 25 to 30 years, numbering 4, arrived at about 1825 hours with hues and cries at the shop, boarding a black taxi with registration 463 Tango Lima 861. They were wearing blue jeans and black sport shoes and were speaking in local Tetum language. The first man was of average height, comparatively black, wearing white shirt and a long handkerchief around his neck. The second was fat, sturdy, and was wearing blue jeans jacket. He was holding a 9mm Glock pistol in his left hand. The third one was wearing a maroon jacket and a broad-brimmed brown bamboo hat. He was also holding a 9mm Glock pistol in his right hand and C-113 model Motorola cell phone on his other hand. The fourth was thin, skinny, and was stumbling in a drunken gait. The two pulled their guns and asked Mr. Alfredo and the shopkeepers to surrender all their money and valuables to them. The shopkeeper was panicked and immediately opened his cash box and submitted to them, still begging for their mercy not to kill anybody of his family. Mr. Alfredo and his family tried to resist the gangsters with Alfredo and his son, Mr. Paulo's recently learnt martial art tactics. The duo labored hard to save their money and valuables. When Mr. Paulo punched the man wearing white shirt at his face, making him fall to the ground, the irate, fat and sturdy man, in his fury, fired 3 rounds of gunshots at Mr. Alfredo Domingo's legs, causing him to fall down. The man in maroon jacket added 2 more shots in his stomach, making him completely collapse on the floor inside the shop. The sturdy man fired to Mr. Paulo, which went through his right thigh, making a big bullet wound. They fired 3 shots in the air and warned all the people around not to report to police, or otherwise they will have the same fate as Mr. Alfredo had. Mr. Alfredo's wife later described that the miscreants took away $800 and a gold bracelet. The shopkeepers reported that they took more than 1,000 US dollars that he had in his cash box. Immediately after the miscreants left the place, Mr. Lino Guzmao, the owner of the shop, brought the injured father and son to Delhi National Hospital, driven by his red Corolla car with registration number 987 Tango Lima 274. Doctors at the hospital declared Alfredo Domingo dead at 1845 hours. A case was filed at local police station for investigation. You will hear conversation between the witness and the police officer.
Thank you for coming to the police station as arranged. Do you have enough time to answer our queries regarding the incident that took place in the shop in Hira yesterday evening?
Yes, sir. I have enough time to answer your queries about the incident. Oh my God, that was the deadly scene in my whole life.
Can you say the time and the date of the incident?
It was in the evening at 1825 hours on 17th October 2006.
Where exactly did the incident take place and where were you?
It took place inside the shop in Hera area at grid reference 453-765. I was just outside the shop to buy something at that time.
Was the victim known to you? Why was he there in your shop at that time?
Not exactly. I came to know later after the incident that he is Mr. Alfredo Domingo, the owner of the Timor Garments and Handicrafts Trading House, Delhi, and that he has his home next to our village, which is about 16 kilometers far from Delhi. He and two of his family members, his wife and son, had stopped to the shop on their way to home to have a cup of coffee and cigarettes.
How were they going to their home?
They were going to their home on a personal Tata truck, registration number 117 Tango Lima 329.
How long did they stay in that shop?
They stayed for about half an hour. Had they left the shop earlier, that would not have happened to them.
What happened when Mr. Alfredo and two of his family members were in that shop having coffee and cigarettes?
While they were having coffee, a gang of miscreants aged between 25 to 30 years arrived with hues and cries and stopped at the shop.
How many offenders came in?
They were 4 in number and had boarded a black taxi with registration 463 Tango Lima 861.
What time did the miscreants arrive at the shop?
Well, about 18-20 hours.
What did they do when they arrived to the shop?
Two of them, who had guns in their hands, pulled their guns and asked Mr. Alfredo and the shopkeeper Mr. Lino Guzmao to surrender all their money and valuables to them.
How many of them were having guns?
Only two of them. One, the fat and sturdy, and other in maroon jacket, had guns in their hands.
What language they were speaking in?
They were speaking in local Tetum language.
What did the shopkeeper do upon their order?
The shopkeeper was panicked and immediately opened his cash box and submitted to them. He was still begging for their mercy, not to kill anybody of his family.
How did Alfredo, his wife, and his son react to their order?
They tried to stand tough to them. Mr. Alfredo and his son Paulo tried to resist the gangsters with their recently learnt martial art tactics. They labored hard to save their money and valuables. When Mr. Paulo punched the man with white shirt at his face, the situation became worse.
How did the situation become worse?
When Mr. Paulo punched the man with white shirt at his face, the irate, fat and sturdy man fired 3 rounds of gunshots at Mr. Alfredo Domingo's legs, causing him to fall. The man in maroon jacket added 2 more shots in Alfredo's stomach, making him completely collapse on the floor inside the shop. The sturdy man fired to Mr. Paulo, which went through his right thigh, making a big bullet wound.
What did they do then after?
After making enough rung there, they fired 3 shots in the air and warned all the people around not to report to police, or otherwise they will face the same fate as Mr. Alfredo and his son.
What was the type and the make of the gun that the miscreants were using?
It was 9mm Glock pistol.
What did the miscreants take away from Alfredo and his family?
According to Mr. Alfredo's wife, they took away $800 and a gold bracelet.
What did they take from the shopkeeper?
They took more than $1,000 from the shopkeeper, which he had kept in his cash box.
Who brought Mr. Alfredo and his son Paulo for treatment to the hospital?
Mr. Lino Guzmao, the owner of the shop, brought Mr. Alfredo and his son Paulo to the Dili National Hospital for treatment.
How did Mr. Lino Guzmao bring the injured to the hospital?
He brought them in his red Corolla car with registration number 987 Tango Lima 274.
When did the doctors in the Delhi National Hospital declared Alfredo Domingo dead?
Well, I came to know at 1845 hours, same day on 17th October 2006.
Can you describe the miscreants? How do they look like?
They were all wearing blue jeans and black sports shoes. The first man was of average height, comparatively black, wearing white shirt and a long handkerchief around his neck. The second was fat, sturdy, and was wearing blue jeans jacket. He was holding a 9mm Glock pistol in his left hand. The third one was wearing a maroon jacket and a broad-brimmed brown bamboo hat. He was also holding a 9mm Glock pistol in his right hand and C-113 model Motorola cell phone on the other hand. The fourth was thin, skinny, and was stumbling in a drunken gait.
Do you have anything more to say?
No, nothing more to say. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time and information.